It was a dark and stormy night, the perfect backdrop for a horror story. Sarah, a young and adventurous girl, had heard rumors about a mysterious clown lurking in the woods near her neighborhood. She had always been fascinated by horror stories, but this time, the idea of encountering a creepy clown sent shivers down her spine. Determined to uncover the truth, Sarah grabbed her flashlight and tiptoed out of her house. The winds whispered haunting melodies, and the rain pattered against her umbrella as she ventured closer to the woods. With every step she took, her heart pounded faster. The stories she had heard described a clown with a malevolent grin, bright red hair, and eyes that glowed in the dark. The more she thought about it, the more terrified she became. As she entered the forest, the ambience became eerier. The moon, obscured by thick clouds, cast strange, distorted shadows that danced in the corner of her vision. Suddenly, she heard a faint rustling sound, stopping her in her tracks. It seemed as though every fiber of her being urged her to turn back and flee to safety. But her curiosity pushed her forward, one step at a time. Sarah followed the sound, her flashlight piercing the darkness ahead. The trees whispered secrets, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands. The air turned icy, chilling her to the bone. Just as she was about to give up, her heart pounding in her chest, her flashlight caught a glimpse of something unthinkable. Amongst the gnarled trees stood a figure dressed in a tattered clown costume. Sarah's blood froze as she locked eyes with the clown. Its face was hidden under layers of smeared makeup and a wide-brimmed hat. She fought the urge to scream, her mouth dry and her body paralyzed with fear. Suddenly, the clown let out a bone-chilling laugh, a sound that echoed through the desolate forest. Sarah's fear turned into sheer panic as the clown lunged towards her, arms outstretched. She stumbled backward, her legs unable to keep up with her racing heart. But just before the clown could reach her, it vanished into thin air, leaving Sarah alone and bewildered. Confused but determined, Sarah trudged through the forest, her resolve wavering. But then, out of nowhere, a piercing scream tore through the air, rattling her eardrums. The sound was ear-splitting, an agonizing mix of terror and pain. Sarah's instincts told her to run, so she broke into a sprint, her fear propelling her forward. Branches clawed at her skin, leaves whipped into her face, as she raced back towards the safety of her home. But no matter how fast she ran, the haunting screams followed her, echoing in her ears. Finally, gasping for breath, Sarah burst through the front door of her house. She slammed it shut behind her, hoping to escape the horrors that lurked outside. But just as she turned the lock, a voice whispered in her ear from right behind her, "Going somewhere, Sarah?" The voice hissed, sending shivers down her spine. Slowly, she turned around, her eyes widening with terror. Standing before her was the clown, its makeup now somehow even darker and more twisted. Its eyes glowed with a malevolent glee, and in its hand, it held a blood-stained knife. Sarah's throat went dry as she tried to scream, but no sound came out. The clown moved closer, its jagged teeth ready to sink into her vulnerable flesh. With a desperate burst of energy, Sarah managed to break free from her paralysis. She dodged the clown's advances, stumbling backward and knocking over a lamp in the process. The shattered glass shimmered on the floor, momentarily distracting the menacing clown. Sarah seized the opportunity and darted toward the kitchen, searching for anything she could use to defend herself. Her trembling hands grabbed a large butcher knife and she turned, her heart pounding. But to her shock, the clown was nowhere to be found. It had vanished as mysteriously as it had appeared. Sarah's mind raced, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Was it all a figment of her imagination, or was there something far more sinister at play? Just as she was about to dismiss the encounter as nothing but a twisted nightmare, a sound caught her attention. It was a music box melody, playing softly in the distance. Curiosity mingled with fear. Sarah followed the haunting melody, her knife grasped tightly in her hand. The sound grew louder and more distorted, as though it was being played on a broken record. As she ventured deeper into the house, Sarah found herself in a hidden room she never knew existed. The music box sat on a dusty shelf, its delicate tune mocking her curiosity. But what caught her attention was a collection of photographs, scattered haphazardly on the floor. She knelt down, her heart sinking at what she saw. Each photo depicted a different girl, their terrified faces frozen in time. A sudden realization struck her like a bolt of lightning. These girls were all victims of the creepy clown she had encountered earlier. But why were their photos hidden away, forgotten? In the midst of her thoughts, the room went dark. The music box stopped playing, replaced by an ominous silence. Every hair on Sarah's body stood on end as she sensed a presence lurking behind her. Slowly, she turned around, her heart pounding in her ears. The clown stood there, its grotesque grin barely visible in the dim light. Sarah's grip tightened around the knife. She was ready to fight for her life. But to her surprise, the clown extended its hand, as if offering friendship. "Sarah, my dear, don't you recognize me?" it murmured, its voice dripping with malice. Sarah's eyes widened in horror and disbelief. It was her childhood friend, Emily, standing there before her, now consumed by darkness. "Emily, what happened to you?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. She felt a surge of guilt for never noticing Emily's descent into madness. Emily's smile widened, revealing rows of sharp, rotting teeth. "You abandoned me, Sarah," she hissed. "Left me to suffer in solitude. And now, we'll be together forever." Sarah's mind raced as she tried to come up with a plan, but her fear threatened to paralyze her once again. She desperately searched the room for an escape, but it seemed hopeless. Just as Emily lunged forward, Sarah's survival instincts kicked in. With a swift motion, she swung the knife, aiming for Emily's arm. But to her dismay, the blade simply passed through, as though Emily was nothing but a phantom. Panic gripped Sarah as she realized the futility of her efforts. But then, a brilliant idea sparked in her mind. She reached for the music box, her hands shaking with determination. Sarah twisted the key on the back of the music box, its tune blasting through the room. She could see the pain in Emily's eyes as memories flooded back, fighting against the darkness within her. The room shook violently, cracks appearing along the walls. Emily screamed, her face contorting in agony as the room threatened to collapse around them. It was then that Sarah understood. Emily had become a vessel for the malevolent spirits trapped within the music box, forced to terrorize others until someone had the courage to break the spell. With one final burst of energy, Sarah hurled the music box out of the window, watched it shatter upon impact. The room fell silent, and Emily stood still, her eyes filled with confusion. Moments later, a blinding light engulfed the room, erasing the darkness that had consumed it. When Sarah opened her eyes, all that remained of Emily was a faint outline, lingering for a moment before disappearing forever. Gasping for breath, Sarah fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. The nightmare was finally over, but the weight of what she had witnessed would stay with her forever. In the weeks that followed, Sarah began to rebuild her life. She sought therapy to help cope with the trauma, yet she couldn't help but question her own perception of reality. As the wounds on her body healed, Sarah found solace in her newfound appreciation for life. Every step she took outside, she marveled at the beauty of the world, grateful for the chance to escape the horrors of that night. However, deep down, Sarah couldn't shake off the feeling that she was being watched. The sensation sent shivers down her spine, reminding her that not all nightmares stay in the past. One crisp autumn evening, as she walked through a crowded street, Sarah's heart skipped a beat. There, among a group of costumed performers, she spotted a figure that made her blood run cold. The figure was dressed as a clown, its face hidden behind layers of garish makeup. Sarah's breath caught in her throat, a moment of paralyzing fear seizing her once again. But then, as if by some twisted irony, the clown turned toward her and removed its mask. Sarah gasped, her legs trembling as she recognized the face staring back at her. It was Emily, or at least someone who eerily resembled her. But something was different about this clown. There was no malice in her eyes, only sadness and regret. Sarah approached Emily cautiously, her heart pounding with uncertainty. "Emily?" she whispered, her voice filled with a mixture of hope and suspicion. Emily looked at her, tears streaming down her face. "Sarah, I'm so sorry for everything," she murmured, her voice trembling. "I lost myself in that darkness. I never meant to hurt anyone." Sarah's mind swirled with conflicted emotions. She could see the genuine remorse in Emily's eyes, could feel the weight of her past sins weighing her down. Tentatively, Sarah reached out and embraced Emily, a gesture of forgiveness and compassion. "I forgive you," she whispered. "But you must promise me never to let the darkness consume you again." Emily nodded, tears staining her clown makeup. "I promise, Sarah," she said, her voice filled with determination. "I will spend the rest of my life making amends for my sins." And so, Sarah and Emily embarked on a journey of redemption and self-discovery. They used their experience to raise awareness about mental health issues, hoping to prevent others from succumbing to darkness. With their passion and dedication, Sarah and Emily formed a support group for survivors of trauma, offering a safe space for healing and growth. They organized fundraisers, wrote articles, and shared their story, inspiring countless others to find strength in the face of their own nightmares. Over time, Sarah and Emily's relationship blossomed into a true friendship, one built on trust and shared experiences. They discovered that sometimes the biggest monsters are the ones we carry within ourselves. As the years passed, Sarah came to realize that her encounter with the creepy clown had served a purpose greater than her own survival. It had given her the strength to reach out and help others in similar situations. Though the memories of that bone-chilling night lingered, Sarah had learned to embrace the darkness as a part of herself, a reminder of the resilience that lay within. And so, the legend of the creepy clown that had haunted her childhood neighborhood slowly faded away, replaced by tales of triumph and hope. The once terrified town had transformed into a community united by resilience, a place where nightmares were faced head-on and conquered with empathy and support. Sarah and Emily's story became a symbol of overcoming one's greatest fears, a reminder that even the most bone-chilling horrors could be transformed into something beautiful. The two friends continued their work, reaching out to those who needed their help the most. They became beacons of light in a world where shadows seemed to lurk at every corner. But amidst their successes, Sarah still wondered about the truth behind that fateful night. Was it all just a figment of her imagination? Or was there something more sinister at play? With the determination that had carried her through the darkest of times, Sarah delved deeper into the mysteries surrounding the music box and the haunted clown. Her relentless research led her to a dusty old library, where she discovered a forgotten journal belonging to a long-deceased resident of the town. As she read through the journal's pages, Sarah's eyes widened in disbelief. The author described a chilling encounter with a malevolent presence, an encounter eerily similar to Sarah's own experience. The author wrote of a cursed music box, a vessel for a vengeful spirit. And the clown, it seemed, was merely a pawn, manipulated by the darkness within. Sarah's heart raced as she pieced together the fragments of the puzzle. The creepy clown she had encountered was but a manifestation of the malevolent spirit trying desperately to be released from its earthly bounds. Armed with this newfound knowledge, Sarah enlisted the help of a paranormal investigator. Together, they delved deeper into the mysteries surrounding the music box and its chilling effect on the town. Their investigation led them to a hidden underground chamber, buried deep beneath the town. The air grew heavier, suffocating, as they descended into the depths of the unknown. The room they discovered was filled with relics of the past, each one tainted with a dark history. But the most chilling discovery of all was a set of ancient incantations etched into the walls. Sarah's eyes widened as she deciphered the words, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that performing these incantations was the key to breaking the curse once and for all. With the investigators' help, they recited the incantations, their voices filling the chamber. The ancient words echoed, reverberating through the walls, as though thousands of tortured souls cried out in unison. And then, as if by some twisted miracle, the cursed music box materialized before them. It glowed with an otherworldly light, its presence both horrifying and strangely beautiful. Sarah reached out, her trembling fingers encircling the music box. In that moment, she felt a surge of power, a connection to something beyond comprehension. With a final prayer and a deep breath, Sarah smashed the music box against the floor, shattering it into 1,000 pieces. The curse was broken, and the malevolent spirit was finally free. As the chamber filled with blinding light and the walls crumbled around them, Sarah felt a sense of closure. The nightmares that had haunted her for so long were finally laid to rest, and she was free. Emerging from the crumbling ruins, Sarah and the investigator held each other tightly, their faces stained with tears of relief. The town's dark past had finally been exorcised, and its inhabitants could now live without fear. And so, Sarah returned to her life, forever changed by the horrors she had faced. But in her heart, she knew that the nightmares had turned into stories of survival, hope, and the enduring power of friendship.